Okay, Sanctum Showdown has released. It's the first limited time game mode since High Voltage, and it kind of shakes up the Marvel Snap formula as far as how you win rounds. Other limited time modes like Deadpool's Diner and even High Voltage, the core way to play the game with the three locations, winning 2 out of 3, has always been in effect. With Sanctum Showdown, you have a point total you need to reach to, and each turn the point value among the three spaces shifts around, the most valuable being the one that's deemed the sanctum for that turn. You still have the three locations, you still have the same energy constraints. It's just this time, rather than the game ending at the end of 6 rounds or 7 if someone plays Magic, which these days you very often see, you just need to get to 16 points based on winning each turn the points that are offered by the three spaces. There are a set of cards that are banned from this mode, ones that they would deemed either to kind of ruin the experience or they might just be overpowered for what's happening here. So for example, you can't just juggernaut someone off a space and claim all those points easily. You need to play for them, I'd say, a little bit more fairly, but it is odd. We have Juggernaut banned, but Cannonball is playable. And in the later rounds, Cannonball is almost like a free win if you have priority for that location. But I don't really want to get into the details of this mode right now. I actually want to talk about what this mode means for Marvel Snap and what it might point to as far as in the distance for what we can expect for the game going forward. Personally, I think this mode is great. I don't know if it's enough to save Marvel Snap. So let me rewind a little bit. For those that have been playing since launch, I think they're going to understand where I'm coming from on a lot of this stuff. For people who are newer to the game, they may not have experienced kind of the levels of frustration or, I don't know, uncertainty that I'm going to express, but over time, they'll come to understand. Marvel Snap is a game that during the onboarding process, it is a blast. You're getting new cards, you're seeing new stuff, you're getting kind of like this really positive feedback loop as you pull cards from the collection track for Series 3, or you get to claim free cards from the shop, and you're just excited about, oh, I got this card, so now I opened up this new way to play, and get kind of through that journey to get Series 3 complete. You're just seeing a lot of new stuff, and it's very addictive, and it is very fun as you're kind of building decks, and every time you get a new card, it enables you to try out different archetypes or different ways to play old play lines, maybe in a better, more effective fashion. And that first little honeymoon phase that you get with it, it's just super addictive. Whether you're playing on PC or mobile, it just grabs you. Not too long, about around the time you get to be Series 3 complete, the progression in the game really starts to slow down. Card acquisition becomes a lot more difficult. You start to find yourself a lot more resource constrained. And then you start noticing that as you graduate from that little Series 3 safe zone that you were in, you're really going to be bullied and outmatched by people who have higher collections than you. They just have more access to cards. They have more ways to beat you. And suddenly you're trying to make decisions on what cards you want to get, and it takes a long time to earn the tokens to get a card. Or if you're trying to engage with the Spotlight cash system, you're trying to decide when to use your keys, and it gets really hard to keep up with just the pace of the other players, especially those that have been playing either a lot longer with you or going all the way back to launch. Personally, I have been playing since launch, so I've been able to kind of keep up with the curve of the game as far as card releases go. I don't get them all anymore. I think it was when Makari came out. That was the first card I skipped at the time. I have Makari now. But I was in a point early on in the game when the collection track was awesome. You could pull gold from it. You could pull cards from it. I mean, I got a Series 5 card off the track, and that's just not possible anymore. In fact, I got more than one. That's how I got my King. But that's not accessible to players anymore. So over time, as those little things started getting shut off, they started removing gold from Conquest Rewards. They started removing gold from the collection track. They started just making it harder to progress as far as card acquisition goes. And there was a time before the Spotlight system and the refinements of the Spotlight system where there was kind of a dead zone in card acquisition ability. That's when I started realizing, okay, I've banked a lot of resources because you used to get excessive resources. And I started realizing I need to start being a little bit more intelligent. I can't just get every card that comes out if I'm going to get the cards I really want in the future. So what ends up happening is the FOMO starts to set in, and that's true of a lot of competitive games, especially in the mobile sense, where they try and constrain your acquisition efforts for either assets or playable pieces. If it's a deck game, like what cards you get, at some point they have to throw that constraint on you to either make you play more and invest time or spend more and invest money. So that FOMO is kind of like the groundwork of a lot of people's frustrations in this game. And it's not even just fear of missing out, it's the actuality of missing out. You start to see cards you can't pick up. And once they leave that spotlight cash system from their week of release, that you're going to have to buy them later. And saving up tokens to buy cards is very, very hard. And most of the cards release straight into Series 5, so they're very expensive. It takes a long time. We just had a Series drop. Great. But if you look back over the time this game's been out, those series drops haven't been consistent and they haven't been, impactful enough to keep people on the curve of card acquisition. But card acquisition isn't even my biggest gripe of this game. My biggest gripe is having to do with the design of the game itself. So we have ladder, which is your standard mode, I guess, where you can progress the ranks up through infinite, if that's your thing. I personally don't even care to go after infinite any longer. I don't like the grind. If you don't do it within the first couple of days of a season, it gets much, much harder as the season goes on. And honestly, getting to infinite isn't really a test of skill. It's a testament to how much time you want to spend on this game. If you just retreat when you don't have it, snap when you do have it, you'll get there. And that's, there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's the basic thing, is just know when to give up your cube and walk away and know when to maximize your wins. But that's not the real grind. So that's one thing. We have the ladder mode. We have Conquest. Conquest, I feel like when it first came out, it seemed like it was going to be, for me, the new way to play. You had the proving grounds where you could kind of dip your toes in, play around with new decks, new ideas, see how effective they were without getting penalized by playing on the ladder. Then, as you moved up through the Conquest ranks, you got a little bit more serious. In Silver Conquest, you wanted to play a bit better deck, more reliable, gold, ever so, true, more reliable decks. And then in Infinite, obviously, having to win 5 in a row, you just took your best stuff in there. In theory, that all sounds great, except for the way that Second Dinner has been designing and releasing these cards. They funnel the optimal ways to play down into so few options. So you either are playing one of those top 1 or 2 meta decks, or you're just playing its counter. And it becomes very, very repetitive. Jumping into Conquest is such an exercise in frustration these days. You either have people who are going in and spamming destroy and discard cards just to get their alliance missions done, or you're just running into, that optimized meta thing, and it just gets tiresome. It gets really, really tired. Right now, it's like, okay, I can see Doom 2099, and I can see the discard Bullseye deck just 9 out of 10 times. Then the 10th time, it's either going to be Move, probably the Scream Bully deck, which you've been seeing me play in the Sanctum Showdown mode here, or it's going to be, whatever like the hot flavor of the moment is. And one of the biggest things that really affected Conquest is the addition of Erisham to the game. I think Second Dinner screwed up so bad by allowing this to be a Conquest card. Conquest, at its core, is a mode about learning what cards your opponent has, how those line up with the cards you have, and then playing intelligently round to adapt to what's going on. Erisham breaks that entirely by giving them a read on you after 1 or 2 rounds. They know exactly what you've got. They know exactly what you're trying to do, but their side, you have no idea. You don't know what cards they're holding. You don't know what cards they're drawing. You get to know a couple of their key tech cards because somehow, even with all those extra cards mixed in, they're still drawing their Shadow Kings, their Shang-Chi, Entrancers, whatever it is they need to beat you, they're drawing them. And it's not even just like I'm sick of losing to Airsham, I'm sick of playing against it. I'm sick of having the tables tilted in their favor constantly. They have all the information, I have very little. They know when they draw snap win conditions that weren't present the round before. I have no clue. That's just stupid. That's dumb. I'm to the point now where if I see Airsham, boom, I'm out. It's dumb. I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to engage with it anymore. So to me, Conquest has been a mode that's just been overran by just, it's not, I don't want to say toxic. It's just, one, it's too samey. And then secondly, I think Airsham has just made the mode entirely unenjoyable to engage with. Looking on into other things, we have the whole play with friends stuff, and that hasn't been touched. Like the entirety of the thing. They could put in a tournament mode where you could invite several friends and you could play a ladder tournament with each other with spectating, but no. They could put in a draft mode, which the community has been asking for ages, and that could be really cool. That could be really fun, and they could have, special missions tied to it, but no. They could put in another way to play alone against bots, but have them increase in difficulty and complexity. They could call it a dungeon mode where you got to make your way through, the underground and face off against beat this toxic deck, beat this move deck, beat this whatever, and it's all bot controlled, and then you get to maybe a boss level or something. It'd be great. A dungeon crawl mode would be so much fun. They could integrate clan battles. The alliances right now, they're pretty dumb. Like, all they are is just a second layer of missions, and as everyone knows, they're pretty grindy, and they just look like ways of making you go and dictate how you're going to play the game. It's not necessarily how you want to, but, well, I got to play a bunch of 4-cost cards to pass this alliance mission, so I'll jump into Proving Grounds, and I'll spam 4-cost cards. Because I'm not going to do that in my ladder games, I'm not going to do that in Sanctum, I'm not going to do that in any other time modes, so I'll just dump it off in Proving Grounds. If they allowed for alliance battles, maybe they could have events where alliance members go after each other, cubes are shared from wins or whatever. Who knows what they could do with it? They could just do something. Like, what's the point of an alliance or allying with all you're doing is just sharing missions for a while? I alluded to it before, but the collection track is a joke. It used to be great. It used to be a fun thing to save up 5 to 10 of those caches and then open them all at once, because you might get cards, you could get cool stuff. There are so many stupid titles packed into this game now that you're going to pull a bunch of crappy titles. You're going to pull Conquest tickets, which you'll probably never even use because Conquest is such a chore and a bore now, that this collection track is often just ignored by people. Like, people will maybe claim the credits, but they just don't open up stuff. Like, they'll grab the spotlight keys and dip out. I see a lot of streamers online that have literally thousands of unclaimed rewards in the collection track just because the time investment to collect them isn't worth the time it is, the return of what you might get inside of them. So I feel that Sanctum is a very, very good mode. It's a very fun way to play it. I am enjoying it a lot. I have to say, I've been super critical of Marvel Snap Online. This is my first Marvel Snap video, but if I had been making them, I would say about 80% of them would be me tearing my hair out asking why. And I don't want to be that way all the time. But I do think this is a really fun game mode. The way that the points move around the spaces reduce those scripted decks that everybody likes to play and rely on. Discard. And it really kind of makes you think moment to moment, and also think about like the importance of leaving space on plays or keeping that high impact card in your hand for later in the rounds. It's a great mode. It really is. But it's going to go away. It's here for 2 weeks and it's gone. Then what? We're back to ladder conquest. They really need to roll out some new stuff. And I really think they need to do it quickly. In fact, before this is up, this 2-week period of this mode, which again, great mode, they need to say what other kind of time modes we can look forward to, or at least give us a hint of what might be coming down the road to keep things fresh. This mode, great. In fact, I'd love to see it become a permanent one. I understand they can't offer the same number of rewards and stuff on an ongoing basis. This mode's it's being pretty generous with what you can earn through it. But even if it was just a different style of playing the game, maybe a separate ladder, they have the Sanctum Sanctorum ladder and then they have the standard ladder, it'd be a lot of fun. They don't, and they could keep it shop. I'm not a big fan of all the additional types of currencies that mobile games tend to build up over the years, but it would be nice to see maybe if the Sanctum mode, once this time period ends, it could just give standard rewards, and that would feed into your ability to generate credits or tokens or whatever it might be. This mode has served as a bit of a lifeline for me. I've been pretty frustrated with the game lately, which I've explained earlier in the video. I don't need to harp on that. But it has shown us that Second Dinner can come up with new ways to play this game, new ways to use cards that we've had sitting around for a long time. In fact, this mode, with its card bans and available card pool, could be kind of a glimpse towards a rotating like pick and ban list that could be present in different modes, such as a draft mode, that could really help us to use our brains a bit more. I feel like one of the biggest problems with Marvel Snap is we're in a rut. We're in a rut with what you can do with the resources that you grind out every day to earn. We're in a rut of what a lot of these cards can do. We're in a rut as far as archetypes go. So yes, this mode points towards Second Dinner's ability. Now, I think it really comes down to their desire. How much do they care? Are they too far invested into the next project, or is Marvel Snap still their main point of focus? This mode right here shows that they have the talent to make this game great, to make this game more than it is. We look and see in China, this game gets a whole lot more support than it does here. I'm sure that has a lot to do with audience or what they feel like they can generate monetarily by supporting the game in that fashion. But we know there are other regions that are getting more of the experience than we are. Please, Second Dinner, hear us, give us more modes, give us more ways to play, give us more ways to interact with this game. So I'll wrap it up with that. You can watch me lose the rest of this match here. I wasn't paying attention to the footage I recorded. I don't know if I recorded myself doing one other thing but losing. So great, that's fine. But yeah, just a spew of thoughts here. Sanctum Showdown, great mode, a peek into what this game could be. As it stands right now, I don't know if it's enough because it's going away soon. We need better, new, permanent modes. So let's see it, Second Dinner, roll it out. We know you have the ability. We just need you to care enough to do so. So that'll wrap this up. I'd love to hear your comments. One, on what I'm doing here with this video. Do you agree with me, disagree? What are your thoughts on the Sanctum Showdown mode itself? And what are your thoughts on the greater state of the game? Especially, I'd like to hear from a good mix of newcomers who are coming in. And these modes are already here. It's just kind of part of the experience. And then I'd like to hear from those who've been playing for a long time and see if this is just enough to keep them interested or at least hoping for better. Thank you for watching. This has been Jeff from Gamer Theory.